Native Hawaiian Cultural Diaspora by Mason Kanoa Morris. Sociology 3AC. So, the paper that I wrote analyzes how Native Hawaiians have experienced colonization by the United States and the long-term consequences it has created for the land, culture, and political sovereignty through concepts like sociological diaspora, racialization, structural and political exclusion, and homeland political activities. This paper shows how Native Hawaiians have resisted cultural loss through language revival, political activism, and protection of their land. The essay, as well as this presentation, also explores how economic pressures and displacement have shaped the modern Hawaiian diaspora. And overall, the research demonstrates how the strength and presence of Native Hawaiian identity, despite generations of inequality and oppression. So, what is my research question, you may be asking? What I chose to focus on was how Native Hawaiians have balanced the supposed benefits of being a part of the United States with the long-term cultural, political, and economic harm caused by colonization and statehood. You might be asking, what's the significance of this topic? Here are 2 points. Native Hawaiians are one of the most displaced indigenous groups in the United States. And understanding this history helps explain modern inequality, diaspora, and sovereignty movements. So, my thesis statement. This paper argues that while U.S. statehood brought economic and military benefits, the Hawaiian annexation imposed significant threats to the indigenous people's cultural, historical, as well as political traditions and independence. So, the history of settler colonism in Hawaii. In 1893, a group called the Committee of Safety, made up of mostly American businessmen, white ethnic Americans, overthrew the Queen of Hawaii, which I'm going to do my best to pronounce her name, Liliuokalani, with the help of the United States Marines. The U.S. was interested in Hawaii for multiple reasons, one being the sugarcane economy, which was bringing in loads of money to Hawaii, as well as the strategic location that Hawaii is in. The location of Hawaii positively benefits our military as well as trade. We're able to trade with other states using kind of Hawaii as like a pipeline to get through to these other states. And yeah. Not states, countries, sorry. We're able to use Hawaii as like a pipeline to trade with other countries. Okay, moving on. So, Hawaiians' political organizing. So, the Hawaiian Patriotic League was able to successfully petition to the United States Congress to oppose the annexation that was going on. A group of Native Hawaiians flew to Washington, D.C. and met with senators, which eventually led to the annexation treaty being voted down. Hawaii was eventually annexed in 1898, but it didn't officially become a state until 1959, which I find very interesting. There was also many social protests that led to a sovereignty movement. So now I'm going to be kind of just talking about different consequences of the annexation. The first thing that I'm going to focus on was just the overall racism that came with the annexation. So pretty much after the annexation, Native Hawaiians were pushed to the bottom of Hawaii's socioeconomic order, which is just an example of structural and political exclusion. While the white settlers were taking resources, land, and power. So just to reiterate that, loss of land, culture, and identity. And a quote that I pulled out from my research, which just honestly just really stood out to me so much that I wanted to include on these slides, was just that Hawaiians were made to feel ashamed of their faces, the color of their skin, their names, and they were just made to feel ashamed of their identity. And then to the left, I've spent a lot of time looking at this image that I discovered, and when I am trying to analyze it, I kind of just see a stereotypical racist version of what people might think a Native Hawaiian looks like, is my best guess of what they're trying to display on top of there. And what it looks like police or maybe military presence, I assume white Americans at the bottom with the guns or rifles. So that's just this is just, to me, this is just blatantly racist and is portraying a racist image of the annexation. Okay, moving on to the second reason. So the annexation brought poverty and homelessness. So pretty much poverty and the lack of wealth and opportunities for Native Hawaiians, the annexation brought. As the movement towards annexation by the white landowners gained momentum, Native Hawaiians were stripped of their land and property. In 1850, white businessmen created the Kulena Act to establish a legal system to pass Hawaiian lands to foreign owners. The act deprived Native Hawaiians of their lands by permitting foreigners the right to purchase the land from right underneath them, which just, to me, is just absolutely wild that people are able to pass a law that allows foreigners people who are coming in to buy your land that you own. So this loss of land deprived the Native people of their connection to their culture, access to resources, and opportunities to gain wealth. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of people who made their money off of the land that they owned because they owned farms and sold grain and whatever, So instead, this has kept them in a perpetual state of oppressed poverty, which leads to the unhealthiness of Native Hawaiians, which is really unfortunate. If you take a look at this graph I included to the left, it honestly just says a lot. I'll give some time to look at that. Okay, so number 3, cultural loss. Cultural traditions such as the hula and sea voyaging, native language, and spiritual traditions were lost as Hawaiian culture was suppressed and residents were forced to assimilate to American culture. Aina, otherwise known as land, was a major part of the Hawaiian identity. Cultural sovereignty movements that took place or that are currently taking place. Excuse me. So, Hawaiian Homelands Commission Act seeks to restore land ownership rights to Native Hawaiians, increase self-sufficiency, and restore the values of culture to the people. The HHCA set aside 200,000 acres for descendants of indigenous people who are at least 50% Hawaiian. Language immersion programs have also been implemented. The University of Hawaii, together with local government agencies and nonprofits, created Hawaiian immersion language schools that connects the Hawaiian elders with students and Hawaiian language teachers. So to kind of wrap everything up, local government, national government, civic leaders, and citizens have worked to restore the Native Hawaiian culture, and it will take a continued effort from everyone to keep the movement moving in a positive direction, because rebuilding an identity after it has been colonized is a process that requires strength, perseverance, political change, as well as pride. Here are my resources and sources that I use, my works cited. Thank you so much for listening.